Hello everyone, so Valentina just released into Marvel Snap, and it comes in at a 2-cost, 3-power card that has the pretty cool ability of add a random 6-cost card to your hand, give it -2 cost and -3 power. So you're going to be able to curve out a 6-cost card a little bit earlier, but it is going to be a random one. So this feels like it would slot into a Loki deck very, very well, and that seems to be the general consensus of this is a Loki deck card. But personally, I don't really care for Loki decks. I don't find them all that fun to navigate and or play against. And so I started brainstorming on ways that Valentina may be good outside of that Loki shell. And what I landed on was a Sera Control style build, something that wants to put just good value onto the board and then on the last turn, counter the opponent's play in some way, shape, or form. Whether that be an explosive last turn play with your Hit Monkey, being able to counter their Quinjet reduction, their Loki reduction with something like a Mobius. We have the Luke Cage to make sure that our 6-cost card that we get from Valentina stays at that base power, and things like Bishop, Kitty Pryde, Angela aren't going to be able to be reset back to their base by a Shadow King, which we also utilize. Shadow King is going to be able to be used in tandem with that 6-cost card that you get. If you don't get Luke Cage, you can set that 6-cost card back to its base power by utilizing the Shadow King as kind of a surprising way to generate just a little bit of additional value for yourself. The rest of the deck is pretty standard. We cut Enchantress for the Valentina. That gives us a little bit earlier of a curve. We can get some value out onto the board a little bit easier into either a last turn explosive Shang-Chi or into a last turn explosive like Hit Monkey play. I think only time will tell how valuable Valentina will be, but outside of Loki style archetypes, I think she has some decent value, potentially generating some really valuable resources, and it gives you that kind of uncertain amount of information that your opponent can't be sure exactly what you're going to play. And in the realm of uncertainty, that is where you get big cube gains by being able to outplay and outmaneuver your opponent when they don't quite know what your end game is going to be. So with the brief deck explanation out of the way, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. Do drop a few cards, most likely going to hit the X23 once again with the Deathlock. It is not bumping up. And I don't think we're going to be able to drop initiative to be able to use something like Shadow King on their Deadpool. And so we'll see. We'll see what this left card is, Nico. And it's going to turn whatever they play next into a demon. I think we're going to pull Deathlock, because I think if they were to use Arnim Zola for some reason, they would use Arnim Zola maybe onto the Deathlock and then drop Deadpool, but that I don't think would beat the Luke Cage ever. We're going to use Magneto, try to pull the Deathlock over into mid. That's not going to hit anything in the left lane. That does give us room for a potential Hit Monkey if we wanted to, but it's not going to be a huge Hit Monkey. But I think it's going to be fine. We'll go Hit Monkey left, we'll go Jeff right, and then the big Magneto coming down in mid. The 3-cost 12-power card is going to be massive. Pull the Deathlock over and see how the end game happens. The Hit Monkey, moderately sized, not huge. 6 powers, nothing to scoff at when you're also dropping 6. There is the Arnim Zola. We did call the Arnim Zola play into pushing over into the left into mid, but we were able to pull that card out courtesy of Valentina. And so we will go ahead and grab the 2 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Clint. We do start with Luke Cage. Fantastic. We have the Kitty Pryde. We have Shadow King to potentially offset some of their boosted cards. Right now in the game, there's a lot of cards and a lot of emphasis on cards that are generating additional value. So Angela and Bishop are just in one package. We also have things like the Destroy, Sunspot. So many cards are just generating value over the course of the game that Shadow Spot can absolutely decimate. So we're going to go ahead and I think we have a pretty easy shot in Necrotia with just our Luke Cage. So I'm going to go ahead and don't think we'll have to fight too terribly hard for the left location. We'll be able to do Angela as long as we have Luke Cage. The Shadow King will offset their Sunspot, but not our Angela. So a perfect fit for the combination. I am going to go ahead and throw it over in the left lane. Ooh, it looks like maybe they're running High Evolutionary. Maybe like an Affliction style build for High Evolutionary. We do have the Bishop, so I'm going to go ahead and prioritize that in the middle location. It's going to give them a pretty almost free Abomination, but I'm okay with that. We don't necessarily need it. Armor comes down, but that's not where our head is going. We don't have the Killmonger in this version. We would rather set their cards back to 0 as that surprise Shadow King play on the last turn. So with our Hit Monkey, we can get a pretty decent reach on the last turn. We don't have Valentina to leverage or utilize. I think that's all right. And then if we get Valentina, maybe we forego the Hit Monkey altogether and we go something like Shadow King plus the 6 cost. I almost want to snap into it, but I'm going to let it play out. I think we're pretty heavily favored here. As long as they don't surprise us in Cap Out Central Park or surprise us with some kind of really big monstrosity of a play, I think we're in a really, really good position here. And so Bishop being huge, the Loot Cage saving us for Necrotia, making that one should be a relatively, I think, easy battle for that one. We get Valentina on 5. So we could do Valentina, let it change into a random card. We could do Kitty Pryde. Then I think Hit Monkey is I think Mysterio is a touch too far. But this would allow us to do Shadow King on the last turn, plus the card we generate here. I'm going to go ahead and do it. We're going to put the real Mysterio. I don't think we even need to do the left lane. I think any direction is going to be fine, but I am going to throw it in the left lane so that maybe the Shadow King can offset the Sunspot just in case they decide to try to fight for that location. And we are going to go ahead and snap into it. It may cause a premature retreat. That is okay. We had the Valentina. We had them in a very, very tough spot with the Loot Cage down on the board and Necrotia being out there. We probably should have snapped earlier or decided to commit to not snapping at all, but we'll take the 1 cube by forcing their hand, and we'll go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Jimmy Dinkins, and it does look like he got the Blob variant. I, on the other hand, unlocked Blob today, which is exciting for me. We're going to go ahead and play Kitty Pryde. We do have Valentina to play out, see what resource we get from her. Monster Metropolis is going to be a potentially decent location. We could also wait a turn just in case we get Agatha, so that Agatha could play herself naturally on 4. I think we'll go ahead and do that. Next turn, we'll be able to do Valentina plus Kitty Pryde, and we get a little bit of information about what kind of deck the opponent's running. So they have the Cable. They could have stolen our Sera, our Loot Cage, our Shang-Chi, Shadow King. So many great hits that they could have gotten. We do have the Loot Cage, so we'll be able to right-size the Valentina resource at the very least. So let's go Kitty Pryde, Valentina into the Angela lane to let her start getting buffed up. We're going to see what resource she provides to us. And I don't know if Agatha can be pulled yet. I haven't seen either way, but I think it is a possibility. So they have Baron. The Shadow King comes down. Null could be valuable with something like the Shang-Chi. If they play something outright that ends up getting hit by Shang-Chi, then our Null becomes somewhat valuable. But they could have also stolen our Shang-Chi, and so that's unfortunate. Let's go Bishop plus Kitty Pryde. I anticipate that we see a Doc Ock at some point. Ooh, and with the Squirrel Girl, I'm assuming we probably see a Mockingbird as well. Another one of those cards that I don't quite have unlocked just yet. We can do Loot Cage here to make sure that none of our cards get offset. As long as we beat 5 here, right now we have a big shot at swinging Monster Metropolis back in our favor. And then I'm going to go ahead and go Jeff. We're going to go Jeff. Have to look out for Doc Ock, which could be here potentially. And if so, that's going to be unfortunate. Kitty Pryde will pull back in, which would be great. They have our Sera. That's not what you want to see. But it is better than them getting our Shang-Chi, I guess. And so we know that that's still one of our draws, or Mobius. And so we get the Shang-Chi. We don't really care about our draw next turn. But for this one, I think we play out Null, because he's going to be set to 0. So that gives him room to potentially work. We have Kitty Pryde that will pull back in. Next turn, we can do Hit Monkey, Mysterio, Kitty Pryde. Or we can do something like Shang-Chi, Mysterio, Kitty Pryde, depending on what the opponent drops here. I'm still anticipating seeing a Doc Ock. This kind of mill-style deck, especially going into a round number 7, likes to utilize Doc Ock where they can. Ooh, our Carnage actually gets such... Oh my goodness, the Null came in absolutely massive force there. Um, sitting at a monstrous 21 power or 18 base from the Carnage destroying those cards and the Killmonger taking out our Kitty Pryde. I couldn't ask for something better. I'm going to go ahead and go Hitmonkey left lane. We will move the Jeff over to mid. And then I think we just play out Mysterio into the right lane. Very good chance we win here. A Shang-Chi could swing this one. But then I think we win left and the right lane. I'm not going to snap against Jimmy. I want to see this one play out. But I think the null coming in from the Valentina was just the best thing we could have asked for. Not every deck runs a destroy component, so I was relying on being able to counter something with the Shang-Chi, but this is even better to see. And so we have initiative. We have to look out for what they do. Ooh, everything in the left lane is wild. What could that play be? So we have the Mysterio. They could use Shang-Chi in the left lane, but they don't have middle or right. Ooh, the Sentry into the Annihilus? They can do both. Sentry into the Annihilus is crazy. We do tie the right, no, we win the right lane, courtesy of the Mysterio. We will take it. Thank you, Jimmy, for sticking that one out. We will gladly take it. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have good old Bojack. The first location is going to be Xandar, which is a pretty decent one. We do have Valentina, which is always great to see. So far, I haven't had a terrible hit yet. Heimdall gives you that kind of play around potential to be able to surprise the opponent. I haven't had an awful hit. Let's see if the streak continues. I'm not going to play her this turn because I still don't know if Agatha is in the pool. I haven't seen confirmation one way or another if she is. And so if she is, I don't want to play Valentina on 2 as often because then Agatha's going to do Agatha on turn 3, which can be kind of scary. We do have Mobius to make sure that their Abomination cannot get discounted. I kind of want to play Mobius. I know that Valentina is in line. We should play her soon, but I think I'm going to drop. Mobius instead. And then as long as we can find our Luke Cage buried somewhere in our deck, it's going to be fantastic. Enchantress comes down, so no longer going to be able to counter the Mobius. Great to see. And then Shadow King right sizes himself. We do have the Luke Cage now. And so I almost want to do Luke Cage versus the Valentina. But against my better judgment, I am going to go Valentina here. See what we get. Next turn could be the Sera into a Flood on the last turn. It could be something else, and then we end up going like Luke Cage plus Mysterio next turn instead. Or we just play the 6 power or 6 cost resource from Valentina. So they do have the thing, they snapped on us, but High Evolutionary Affliction, one of their biggest deficits is going to be against Luke Cage. So She-Hulk comes down at the 2 cost slot, which is really cool for us to see. We could potentially position her into the Crimson Cosmos by making her free. But I don't know if that's the direction that we go. Because then it would be 3, 4, 5. That's not a great turn. I think instead we go something like Luke Cage, She-Hulk to the right, and then we're going to, depending on what we draw, we're going to adjust from there. I do think the Luke Cage is going to give us that surprising pushback in this left lane. The armor, fantastic, that's fine. That does put them at a finite amount of power in the left lane. Misty Knight can help them a little bit, but it can't scale too egregiously. The She-Hulk coming down, we'll see. We'll see what this last card looks like. Hit Monkey. We have initiative. They did not for sure have that one out of question. I was thinking through my last turn play. I was thinking, since we have initiative, Shang-Chi is a no-go. We're going to give up the Crimson Cosmos. We could do something like Hit Monkey at a 4 power, and then it's 6 power plus the one from Xandar, so it goes up to 21, depending on where Misty Knight would have hit. we could then have the little bit of extra bump in the right lane. That was going to be a very tight one. I don't think they realized how tight that last turn was going to be. We will take it. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have W. We start off with Sera in our hand, which is a fantastic thing to see. And it does look like we are finally going up against a Loki deck, which is scary. A Loki deck, no matter when it is scary. They gift us a Mockingbird. We gift them a Sera in return. Let's go ahead and play our Valentina. If we play it out onto the board early, we can get a discounted Mockingbird. We could potentially try to dig for some Vibranium by playing into that location, but we don't have enough key resources just yet. I would like to see a Mobius, and so we're not going to fill up that location. They obviously already have some really good resources that they're sold on for playing into the Vibranium mines. We're going to go ahead and do a Jeff. We have the Helicarrier, which is a 4/7, potentially a 4/10 whenever if Luke Cage comes down. So I think we drop that next turn. They do have a Luke Cage of their own, and so our Shadow King is not going to be effective at countering their Collector, which is good to know. It's good information to have early. Go ahead and play the Helicarrier to the right. They could either re-trigger a location or cancel all the locations with their Snow Guard cards, or they have the Loki. And so with the Loki, their cards are going to be discounted. If we can get a Mobius, that's probably our priority. Do we ever do that over a Sera drop? I almost think we do. I almost think it's Angela into Mobius, into next turn doing like the Hitmonkey plus the Mysterio and calling that good. If they don't play their Mockingbird this turn, or if they don't flood a lot of cards, so maybe they just drop the Sera and think that they're going to have a deep discount on those cards. And so anticipating that, we're going to play the Mobius. They do drop Sera, so no discount from Loki, no discount from Sera, no discount on their Mockingbird. That's exactly what we wanted to see. That gives us the best fighting chance we could possibly ask for here. And so I think we go ahead and do Real Mysterio in the right lane. And then it comes down to if we can win another one. And so Mysterio, and I'm going to go ahead and commit to this middle location. I think they may fight for the Collector lane. This is going to be a 8-power Hitmonkey. Is that better than what they can do? I changed my mind. We're going to shift our power over to the left lane. Hope that they fight for the middle location, and we'll see. If they fight for right and just kind of abandon mid, then we messed up by moving the Jeff. We'll see. The Mysterio comes down. We have Hitmonkey that's going to drop into place soon. They do still, even without the reduction from their cards, so the Mobius from the Sera, they were still able to play a lot of cards onto the board, which is very scary to see. I'm guessing Mysterio, and then maybe Hitmonkey in mid, being that golden card. Maybe they did Hitmonkey to the left. But the real Mysterio being somewhere we're not certain of would be scary. The Quinjet in the left lane I don't think is going to do it for them in the left lane, even if the real Mysterio is there. If their real Mysterio is in the right lane, I don't think that does it for them either. It's a very touch and go, but I think we pull this one out no matter where their real Mysterio is at, because we have the big gap in the right lane. The real one in the left lane is going to bring them up to 8, but because we shifted, we were able to hold it down. Had we not, that would have been, I think we would have lost by 1. It would have been the 14 here had we went with our original line. I'm glad we shifted. We'll take the 2. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have first-time caller, long-time listener. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I don't remember how that goes. We do have Valentina on turn 1, plus Elysium, which is going to be able to get so crazy so quick. I'm going to go ahead and just drop the Valentina and kind of keep the other ones close to chest. We don't need to necessarily rush things out onto the board. Since we already have a pretty big discount on some of our cards, we already have a pretty cheap curve in general. Plus, if we draw a Sera into Onslaught Citadel, all of our cards are essentially going to be 1 regardless. And so I don't think we have to rush things out on the board. And I think we can save them to try to use it strategically. The Medusa in mid, the Nightcrawler. This could be a Thor deck. I haven't seen Medusa in a while. Sometimes I see it in ongoing. Sometimes I see it in on reveal. They do have the Red Hulk, which is kind of scary to see. If we can draw Mobius, that's great at counteracting their Elysium. But for now, I don't think we necessarily need to worry. I almost want to skip this turn as well. I know that we're just feeding their Red Hulk, but I think that's okay. Ooh, with the Medusa, with Jessica Jones. I have to say, I think this is closer to some kind of lockdown list. Maybe we have to be weary of Professor X in the left lane. Either way, we do have Sera. I'm going to go ahead and drop Sera. All of our cards are going to be 1. And so we're going to be able to drop 6 individual cards on the last turn. If we can draw into Hitmonkey, it's going to be wild. That includes our... My goodness. It's like they heard us. So we can do Angela into... It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am going to go ahead and we're going to play Jeff. These two we've already lost in so far. We're losing in currently. So as long as they don't have a Mobius to absolutely just wreck our day, I think we're okay here. Miss Marvel is big at being that resource that pushes +10 to the left and to the right. But we have a little secret in we have the Magneto play. Plus we're going to have a gigantic Hitmonkey. Just absurd of a last turn play. So I think we do... Magneto to the right. Magneto to the right. Shang-Chi to the right as well. We move Jeff. We drop Hitmonkey plus the Real Mysterio here. Oh, we got to undo it to get the Bishop out first. That's always the first play. All right, so Bishop, move the Jeff. We drop Magneto. Then we hit them with a Shang-Chi. Then we do the Real Mysterio here. Plus the Hitmonkey. Oh my goodness, we have to redo it again. Okay, Shadow King. Then Bishop. Then move the Jeff. Then we're going to drop Magneto. Then the Shang-Chi. Then the Real Mysterio. Then Hitmonkey. Hitmonkey's going to be massive. Magneto to the right is going to counter a potential Red Hulk. We're going to move the Miss Marvel over. All is going to be absolutely insane on this last turn. I'm so sorry that took so long, listener. With you having initiative, I think Red Hulk for you goes in the right lane. That's where I would think Lady Deathstrike is a surprise. Plus the Gladiator, so not the Red Hulk that I was thinking. We do counteract the Jessica Jones. We're going to pull the Miss Marvel out of that middle location. So the left lane is now ours. Middle location is now ours as well. Shang-Chi's not going to do what we need him to do. That's perfectly fine. Lady Deathstrike came in absolutely huge. What a weird, wild game. The Magneto came in absolutely massive. Once again, we have the 27 in mid, the 12 in left, and we will take the 2 cubes. And let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Clint. And the Dark Dimension can make for some pretty cool burst style plays. We can hide the Hitmonkey there early and then not have to worry about playing that 3-cost card out later. We have Valentina. We eventually have potentially a Shang-Chi. We have Luke Cage to bring back the power level of the Valentina card. With the Forge, I'm always thinking Silver Surfer. Like a stat Silver Surfer is always the first place my mind goes to. Sanctum Sanctorum is very, very scary here because that limits the room that we have to play significantly. We could do Mobius, but I don't think that's what we want to do. We can do a Bishop, and then that allows us to do like Luke Cage plus Kitty Pryde, Mobius, and just stack the 2. We hope for Jeff eventually because that would allow us to play into Sanctum Sanctorum at least in a small degree. So this does look like not a Silver Surfer, but just like a stat, like a Patriot build. Maybe they have Valkyrie. Shang-Chi is going to be the perfect finisher in the middle location. No question about it. Let's go Luke Cage plus Kitty Pryde. That's going to make sure a Valkyrie cannot negatively impact us. I'm going to go ahead and snap. I think we have a good enough line here. That's what we get for snapping. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Luna. The first location is the Vibranium Mines. We have our Valentina, we have our Mobius, we have our Luke Cage. Things look pretty good. They have the Red Hulk, so as long as we get a Shang-Chi and can kind of assume where they're going to play that card, then we should be able to counter that lane as well. I'm going to go ahead and play Valentina into mid. For some reason, I'm feeling like the right lane is going to be something where it's restricted, like the Space Throne or something like that. Pixie comes down. We know that they're not going to get a free Red Hulk because they already have it in hand. Ultron is not the card you want to see unless this right lane is restricted. That's okay. Let's go ahead and play our Bishop with the Luke Cage. We should have an easier time winning the sewer system. Actually, let's do Mobius. Mobius is going to just ruin any discount that they get on their Pixie cards, and it's going to keep any negative like increases that they had unless they have their own Mobius. And so I wanted to snap into it. Every time I've been snapping today, people have been retreating, but I think with a Mobius into the Pixie play or right after the Pixie play on our end, it is enough to pause the retreat. All right, next up we have Soury, and I am so soury about the things that we're gonna do. We're rusty, guys. It's coming back. It'll come back slowly. And so they're running an Ant-Man, so they're probably running the ongoing deck that was featured and just kind of blew up like very, 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 very drastically recently. I'm gonna go ahead and play Angela into the Ant-Man lane. I assume that if they have Jean Grey, they'll play it into Kunlun. If we draw Valentina, we can actually get 2 of the 6-cost cards, courtesy of Kamar Taj. Onslaught Citadel is also pretty decent if we draw into our Sera. So I'm going to play Valentina into Kamar Taj. We'll have 2 options for our 6-cost resource. Fantastic to see exactly what you want to happen. And then depending on if they have Jean Grey or not. If they have Jean Grey and they happen to drop it into Onslaught Citadel, fantastic. Scar is big. If we get any card that is above 10 power, okay, well, Apocalypse is not as big, coming in at a base power of 6. So even with the Luke Cage, he's not going to be fantastic. He's not going to allow us to get an incredibly cheap Scar, but it's okay. Not all of them have to be absolute winners. Let's go Bishop into Kitty Pryde. The good thing about this build, and I probably should snap at this point, because if they have Jean Grey, we can get around it by playing the Kitty Pryde every single turn. And so Nebula is not going to scale the way that they would want it to. The White Queen is a little bit of a surprise, though. That's not good. And then the Titania. Ooh, they should have shifted that around. They could have capped us out entirely. Had they played the Titania into the White Widow, that would have pushed the Titania onto our side, and we wouldn't have stood a chance. But so far, we do not much of one, though. If they're running like a junk deck, then I think they have us by having a Debris, having a green. They can't play Green Goblin and Kamar Taj. I guess they could, and it would send Titania our way. Whole Obsidian, though, comes down as that massive 10 power card on their end. And so they don't even have to play for the middle location this turn. We have Luke Cage down, so a Shadow King wouldn't be too detrimental, but Mobius is going to be stronger. We're going to try this. It's a respectable amount of power that we're playing, both in the Angela lane and into Onslaught Citadel. Actually, I'm going to switch these two. I think if we lose by 1, it's going to be an Onslaught Citadel. Watch that be the decision that loses us the game. We're going to stick this one out. It's only 1 additional cube. They do double up in the right lane, so that is going to be a pretty big, pretty hefty lane. They knew that the Angela plus the Bishop was going to be massive. If they have a Shang-Chi, us having Luke Cage, they're going to be able to counter that Scar pretty quickly. The Polaris, the Gladiator comes down. We do have the extra power in the right lane. We have the extra power in the left lane, and we are able to hold it down, even with a completely capped out location in the middle. And as I said when we started, I'm so soury about the things we're about to do. With that one, we are going to go ahead and end the video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. This has been TLSG. Later, guys.